Our talk today is going to be on food safety, and I've got a really nice story to share with you about that provoked this food safety. You might feel like you're learning some things today. You're like, yeah, that's obvious. I already know that. But there's some details that, maybe sometimes we get busy or we get lazy or we get distracted or circumstances don't always allow us to follow those food safety rules. And so I want to let you know too why that is so important. Oh, and also I'm Brenda Morgan. I'll introduce myself more later. But for those people on the video, just want to let you know who I am. So we're going to be talking about some of the basics of food safety. As you saw on that previous slide, just keeping everything clean, washing your hands. We're going to talk a little bit more about separating the food. Also, using different cutting boards or washing your cutting boards, keeping the meats away from the raw vegetables. Also, the temperatures at which you're going to cook, and the temperatures and how long you want to be able to leave things out and put them in the refrigerator and stuff like that. So I'm going to give you some more tips on that. And then I'm going to tell you this story. You're going to be able to sit back, relax. I'm going to tell you a story. We're going to talk about some of the common pathogens. Pathogens are like bacteria and viruses that you might find in food-borne illnesses that could make you sick. And we'll talk about storage and preparation. What are some of the guidelines that you can follow on that? And we're going to take you through the journey of a chicken from the grocery store to your plate to leftovers. And as always, I also want to remind you that you have the power, that you get to choose how you eat and how you behave and your fitness in order to make yourself more energized and more healthy tomorrow and next week and for your longevity. My name is Brenda Morgan. I am a registered dietitian, nutritionist. I am a master certified health coach and a personal trainer. I've been teaching ThriveWell classes since 2016. So coming up on 10 years here. I love this community. I'm super grateful that you're here and that you pay attention and that you're learning. And I love being able to hear those stories where people come back and say, oh, thank you so much for this recipe, or thank you for telling me, or oh, I didn't know about that. And nutrition is so complex that we need reminders, right? Plus, in the food environment that we live, we know we should eat the apple or the vegetable, but there's the fast food and it's on every corner and on every street and so delicious. And I want to show you how to make all these things delicious for yourself so that you feel good afterwards. Especially with food safety, you want to not get sick from your food. And some of these things you've learned from your mom, you've learned from your family, you've learned from other people. But I think sometimes we don't talk about it enough. We're talking about the vitamins and the minerals and what's the great recipe, and that's really good too. But this story that I'm about to tell you prompted me to say, I need to bring this information to the divas because there's some things that you just don't know, right? Or you forget, or you get out of habit. So some of the things we're going to talk about is making sure that you clean your hands, cleaning your tools, making sure that you're cleaning your cutting board in between your meats and your vegetables. And, sometimes we don't always sing that happy birthday, that 20 seconds of washing our hands, but super, super important. And I'll tell you more about why that is. We want to keep our meats, again, separated from our fruits and vegetables. So on the counter, even on the cutting board, we don't want to use the same one, or you want to make sure you wash it very thoroughly before you start working with meat also. And washing your hands frequently in between the meat and the eggs, right? Sometimes like you'll have the meat and then you want to go grab, like in prepping this chicken that I'm bringing to you today, I'm prepping the chicken, washing it, and then I'm going to marinate it, but I'm doing it in layers, right? So maybe I'm going to have one hand that's my chicken hand and another hand that's my dressing hand. Or I have to wash my hands before I pick this up. And sometimes it's like, oh, it's fine. It'll be okay. But good food safety would dictate that you want to not put your hand on the jar unless you're going to wash your jar afterwards. Just keep one chicken hand and one dressing hand, or picking up the salt and pepper, right? This is where we start to get cross-contamination when you have the meat in one hand and then you pick up your bell pepper. Yeah. And even if you're going to cook it, still keep those things separate on the cutting board and even on the counter, just to remind yourself. Also, we'll talk a little bit more in detail about the cooking temperatures, the temperatures that you want to get your food up to. This danger zone I'm going to refer to a lot. Between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit, that's the danger zone. That is where bacteria can flourish. So you want to keep your hot things hot and your cold things cold. That means too, in preparation, that you want to keep your stuff in the refrigerator as long as you can until it's time to use it. Now, I mean, if it's something that's pretty fast and you want to get all your stuff on the counter and have it ready and make sure, that's okay, right? But you generally don't want to leave things out for more than like an hour or two. And if like it's a family gathering or something like that, you get everything out, and then someone pulls you over here and then you start talking right? And so then you see like an hour or two later, there's still stuff left on the counter. So it's like just a good practice to keep the cold things cold and the hot things hot. In chilling, also, we're going to talk about getting things from the grocery store into your house, into the refrigerator, into the freezer as quickly as you can. We'll also talk about how after you've cooked, I get this is the one question about food safety that I get sometimes is how quickly do you get those into the refrigerator? Because some people say, well, I don't want to put my hot stuff in the refrigerator because then it messes up the ambient temperature of the refrigerator. If you leave things to start to get to a lower temperature for a little while, maybe 20, 30 minutes, then it would be safe to put in the refrigerator. But you want to get your things in the refrigerator as quickly as possible to start chilling them down to stop that bacteria growth. We don't want to allow foods to be in that danger zone. And I think I've put it up here, or I put it on the slide almost on many of the slides, so you get that reminder. Don't allow foods to be in that danger zone for more than 2 hours. And if you kind of just tell yourself not more than an hour, then at least that gives you that little wiggle room there. So when you get from the store, get everything in the freezer and the fridge as quickly as possible. You want your refrigerator to be at 40 degrees or below, 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below, and your freezer 0 or below. We're also going to talk about the internal cooking temperatures to make sure, especially when we're working with meat, that those internal cooking temperatures are high enough. And I'll give you on another slide, I'll give you the exact measurements and you have those in your notes. This one's hard for me. Storing leftovers in the refrigerator for about 3 to 4 days in airtight containers. I've been doing this for a while and I know what the rules are, but it still smells good and it's okay. I mean, I don't know. I just, with the food waste and whatever. So, I mean, I guess that comes down to just making sure that you buy just enough or you get those things in the freezer. That's the thing that, if it's like a turkey dinner or it's a family thing and there's a lot of it left over, then freeze as much as is not going to be used in the next 3 to 4 days. But these airtight containers, like the good ones, nowadays, they're so good. They keep food fresh much longer than 3 to 4 days. But this is just to keep you safe, right? I would think a week is still a safe, because a lot of people do food prep for a whole week, right? Or you buy food prep for a whole week, and that's still safe. But this is just being extra safe for 3 to 4 days. You're reheating your leftovers up to 165 degrees. So if you don't have a thermometer in your house, that might be something that you might just want to have. Not that you're going to use it for every single meal. You'll kind of know, okay, this is hot enough or not. But especially, again, with meats, I'm going to harp on the meats when we're going to talk about chicken, because that is one of the easiest culprits of food bacteria growth, right? And, and making sure that you defrost your food in the refrigerator. Sometimes we put them out on the counter. Yeah, because I'm like, I'm going to need this in a couple of hours, so it'll be fine. And maybe, and probably, but just for the sake of food safety, we'll plan ahead. And at least the night before, if you have some frozen beef or some frozen meat, put that in the refrigerator and let it defrost that way. It's just a better rule of thumb. I'm going to tell you the story. So I have notes. This is going to be a bit of a story. Sit back, relax. Everyone's all like, okay, let's go. So remembering some of those food safety tips that I told you previously that I just gave you, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a Christmas story. My family and I were going to the home of a family friend. I'm going to give you different names to protect the innocent. So we went to Katie's house. And she wants to have Christmas dinner for everybody. And I know that she's not very experienced and she's not very skilled at cooking in general, but for cooking for this amount of people, not so much. So I say, I can come over and help. I'll come over. We were supposed to eat around 6 p.m. I'm going to give you lots of times because they matter in this story. We're around 6 p.m. we were supposed to eat. I'll come over around 3 and I'll help you out. Okay, great. She's very happy about that. And she had gotten the food from Whole Foods. So she got the already fully cooked turkey, all the sides. Good. That's good. For her skill level and her experience, that's perfect. And that's, good quality stuff. So I arrived around 3 o'clock. And the turkey was on the counter. And I said, the turkey's out already. Do you want to get that started? Oh, no. The piece of paper here says it's only going to take an hour and a half. And I said, how long has the turkey been there? Oh, I just took it about an hour ago. I'm already getting emotion here. There's so much more. So relax, take a deep breath. She's like, there's more. There's so much more to the story. So this is 3 o'clock. She's like, no. It only takes an hour and a half to heat. And I'm looking at the bird. It's like a 24 pound. It's supposed to feed 12 to 15 people, right? So this is a pretty big turkey. And I know it's going to take longer than that. Even though it's already been fully cooked. Okay. So I'm like, okay, well, all right. And this is not my house. So I'm trying to be polite. I don't want to take over. Right? You all have been through this. And I mean, unless you're just, as we get older, we just say, I know better and I'm just going to do the thing. But I'm trying to be polite. And I say, I think it might take a little bit longer than that. Around 4:30, I'm like, let's preheat the oven. At least let's get that started, because she was going to want to do it at 350 degrees. And I was like, let's make that 375 because I really think it's going to take a little bit longer than that. Okay. So finally, I start to realize, and I'm trying not to take over. So we're doing some of the sides and getting the other things heated up and stuff like that. But I'm starting to realize she wants me to take over. She wants me to do this. And I'm like, oh, why didn't you just ask me? I'm like, I'll do it. She's being polite. I'm being polite. But by about, 4:35, she says, or I'm like, we need to, let's go. And she wants me to take over at that point. And so I'm like, okay, let's go. So we get the turkey in the oven, 375, big. I still don't think it's going to be ready on time. We're doing all the other preparations. I'm looking at my notes because there's so many details that I want to make sure I don't miss anything.
By that time, turkey had been out for like an hour.
Oh, thank you. And she says, and by that time, the turkey had still been out on the counter this whole time. Thank you for saying that. Right, you already answered one of the questions I was going to ask at the end. Ding, ding, ding. Yes, you got one of them right already. So she didn't have a meat thermometer. So I thought, okay, it's fully cooked and it's going to be in there for an hour and a half. And maybe around 6:30, it still wasn't quite hot enough. I didn't feel hot to me, like by putting my hands on the aluminum foil that we had covered it in. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's fully cooked. Okay. So we take it out, we let it rest for about 10 or 15 minutes, and we cut into it. And I was right. It's still cold in the middle. Yeah, this is after an hour and a half at 375. And so then we're like, okay, and the natives are getting restless, right? We've got a room full of people. We're supposed to eat at 6. It's coming up on 7 o'clock. And she's got this little tiny microwave. And I'm like, okay, well, we're just going to warm it up in batches. So we start to slice it, and then trying not to dry it out, right? More. We're like, we'll just warm it up in little batches in the microwave, get everything else was ready, just get it on the table. Everybody wants to eat. We're coming up on like 7 o'clock or so. We all go home. Everything was fine. It was a good dinner. The turkey was fine. We all take our leftovers home with us. And, 'cause there's lots of good leftovers, right? So we all take our leftovers home with us. About 2 days later, and I have put everything in airtight containers. About 2 days later, I'm like, the turkey is like already smelling off, right? It's already like, I'm like, what? And then I'm thinking through like the whole scenario, what happened. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, it was out for a while. So it might've had a little bit more bacteria growth than it would have. Will we cook it to 165? Heat it up at 165, it should kill the bacteria, whatever, but it's starting to get like a little bit too off. And on that day too, my daughter comes home. She had been at Katie's house, and she said, she brought me a container. Katie sent this turkey. She's not going to be able to eat all of it. We have 4 people in our house, and she just had 1. She's not going to be able to eat all of it. She sent this over. And I'm like, okay, that's a lot of turkey for us. But I'm like, okay, I can freeze it. I can do bone broth, something like that. Okay. On the 3rd day, the turkey's getting a little bit more off. So I go to the one that Katie sent to me, but it was even more off. I keep using the word off. You know what is that? I was trying to come up, when I was writing this all down, I was trying to come up with a better adjective, the smell of it, right? Like it's not bad yet, but it's like, it's turning. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is safe. So about a week later, and I ended up having to throw some of it out. That's painful for some people. I was like, I'm going to have to throw this out. I don't think this is okay. It's not worth it, right? Is everything I know as a registered dietitian, and we do food safety. Like you guys are going to get an hour of it today. We do food safety over and over and over again with food service management and everything. I had to throw away a lot. About a week later, Katie's at our house. And she says, we start talking about the turkey, and I'm very regretful. You know, we had to throw some of it away because it was getting bad too fast. I didn't get it in the freezer fast enough. Then she tells me a story. Everyone here is like, it gets better. It gets better. Oh, so to cut to the chase a little bit more, she tells me how, so it's Christmas, right? There's a lot of people in your house. There's a lot of moving parts, and there's presents and there's things and whatever. And she woke up the next morning and the turkey was out. And she put it in the refrigerator. I'm getting gasps for you at home so that you can hear. She put it in the refrigerator. And that is the turkey that was sent to my house by my daughter a couple of days later. And my daughter and my son and my husband and I were like, what? This is where we're not polite anymore. Are you kidding me? We're like, are you serious?
She left it overnight.
She left it all night, and the next morning put it in the refrigerator. And I happen to know too that she's not an early riser, so maybe it was 10 or 11 a.m. I don't know. So, like that story, so many people who have experience cooking are going, what happened here? But here's the thing. She just didn't know. That's the thing, is that there are some people that just don't know. They don't have experience. And it's not like anything bad per se. They just don't know. They think it's okay. It will be okay. So it's not malice. It's not negligence on her part. This is why I come to you. And when the moment that she said that to me, and after we stopped overreacting to this news, I, in my head, said, I must go forth and spread the word of food safety. People just don't know, right? So in that whole beautiful story, can you give me some of the places in that story from the beginning to the end when that food might have been put in jeopardy?
Well, from the moment that she brought it in, she should have probably had placed it in the fridge.
The moment that she brought it in, she should have put it in the fridge. Yeah.
Especially if she wasn't going to put it in there.
Yeah, especially if she wasn't going to put it in there for a couple of hours. Any other points that you can see that we could have saved the bird, that we could have saved the turkey?
Well, I mean, just based on how the size of the turkey, I mean, being that there was a lot of leftovers, maybe sliced it first, like, approximately how much she was going to use. First, or at least put the rest of it, away, and then bring it back out to, you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
she could have maybe, based on the fact that it was previously cooked, that's actually a really good idea. And I didn't have that in my notes because it's Christmas, right? You want to have the turkey and slice the turkey and whatever, but that's actually a really good idea that she could have sliced it before, and which is what we ended up doing, actually, slicing it, then we put it in the microwave instead of putting it in the oven. But that's a good idea too, right? And those time frames, that those things were out. So what did we learn just in the beginning of this presentation? How long should you leave things out in the danger zone?
Max 2 hours. Max was 2 hours.
Max 2 hours, right? Shooting for an hour.
You're tired, but you got to put it away.
You're tired, but you got to put it away.
And it
Yeah.
takes time to do that.
I'm hoping Katie won't see this, but if she does,
Did
if you're
anybody
tired,
get
just
sick?
put it away. Nobody got sick.
Nobody got sick.
That's a good question. Yeah, the question was, did anybody get sick? But actually, I'm surprised. And that's what we're going to talk about too, is as we get older, our immune systems start to lower, right? You become more vulnerable. And then you get people that might be sick or have been sick. And, if you've had cancer or anything else that's going to lower your immune system, you really have to care about food safety even more, which is also why I bring this to you. So those time frames really, really matter. And I swear I'm not exaggerating. That's the thing too. I'm starting to tell the story. I'm starting to write it all down. And I'm like, it seems a little extreme. No, it's real. Happened. So why is it so important? As we spoke of, foodborne illnesses. There's so many foodborne illnesses, and I'm going to talk to you just about a few of them, but there's so many different bacteria, there's so many viruses, there's things that can get into your food that might come from the food handling of them. We're just going to talk about a few of them, but that's why these food safety rules are so important. As we get older, as I said, as we get older, our immune systems are lowered. So we really need to be even more careful. And also, if you've got maybe little grandchildren or any other little babies or little children, they don't have immune systems just yet. So we want to make sure we keep things safe for them too. So I just am bringing you 3 of the most common bacterias or viruses too, ways that you might get sick from foodborne pathogens. The norovirus actually is one of the leading causes of foodborne illness. We have millions of cases, and this is just in the US. The stats that I'm going to be giving you today is just in the United States. We get millions of cases per year. And norovirus specifically, we've been talking so far a little bit about the bacteria that can grow on the food when it's left out at unsafe temperatures. But the norovirus would come from someone else handling your food. And luckily in the US, we have so many regulations in food service, at restaurants, ways that food needs to be handled. Not that it always does, but sometimes somebody is sick and they go to work anyway. And so that handling of the food, maybe not washing their hands well enough, that norovirus comes from the person to the food, or even from the countertop to the food. So if I'm, touching this area here and then touching the food to it, that can, and that would give you diarrhea, stomach pain, and vomiting. And you're going to find a lot of these foodborne pathogens, the symptoms are the same, are very similar, right? So sometimes it's really hard to decipher what's causing whatever the foodborne illness is. Another one that we're going to talk about in salmonella that comes from the animal, from the intestines of the animals and of humans, and it is also a major cause of foodborne illness. It is the leading cause of foodborne illnesses that lead to deaths. So a lot of foodborne illnesses you might get, you're sick, you call it a stomach flu, or I had food poisoning, and it, maybe it's 24 hours, maybe you're a bit weak, it's 48 hours, it's okay. But especially if you're immunocompromised, or if your immune system can't fight it off, or if it's too bad, like a salmonella, it could lead to death. There is some mortality there. Salmonella can lead to diarrhea, to stomach pain, to nausea, vomiting, fever. This salmonella is a little bit different because specifically they talk about fever and fatigue and muscle aches. Like the others are kind of the diarrhea, vomiting, stomach pain, but this one for salmonella is a little more specific. You're going to feel much more run down than that. And then Clostridium perfringens is also one of the common causes of foodborne illnesses. This is mostly when foods are left out at room temperature for too long. So the norovirus is a virus, right? So you get it from other contact in other people, right? But the salmonella is a bacteria. So that would grow if you're leaving your food in that danger zone. And the Clostridium perfringens is also a bacteria, so that's going to keep growing overnight. And the diarrhea, stomach cramps, nausea, vomiting, also the same symptoms. I just wanted to give you a little bit more information about that. That is also associated with meats and poultry dishes. And as you know, with food safety, we're really focused a lot on those meats and poultries. So how can you protect yourself? So we're going to talk about it from the beginning, right? Getting your groceries home from the store. Maybe you have a cooler bag. Does anyone else use a cooler bag? Especially, okay, we're in San Antonio, Texas. It is in the 90s at least, most of the time. I'll just say most of the time, but especially right now, it's so hot outside that even if you get all your groceries and you get them in as fast as you can, things start to melt. So I highly recommend getting a cooler bag. And if you have errands you have to run, maybe you just need to go home. Or what I do is I actually put a cooler, if I know I have other things to do and it's just more efficient, I just put a cooler in my car, not just a cooler bag, but a cooler.
An ice bag or something.
And an ice bag, or here, I'll just, like something like this. I'll just put a big ice pack in it, or an Igloo, is that the name brand? An Igloo or something. And I just throw an ice pack in there. And that way I know I can run that one extra errand and everything will be safe before I get home. And then when we're preparing, we need to make sure that we wash our hands. But even while you're preparing, like we were talking about, handling the chicken, go wash your hands. Handling the eggs, go wash your hands. And to avoid that cross-contamination, make sure that you wash your utensils. So yesterday, the food I'm bringing you today is some chicken, marinated chicken breast. And I have a problem. I just want to always bring you guys the best thing, and I'm creating all these recipes and I want it to be great. And I'm like, my husband grills this chicken and he's got it down perfectly, right? And I like to give you like just the right number, just the right temperature and all that stuff so that it's juicy and tender and it's wonderful. But then I go, not everybody is going to have a grill, but most people have pans. I'm going to take this recipe and I'm going to put it in a pan, but I don't know what the exact amount of time, the exact temperature, what am I going to tell them, right? So everybody has a recipe in front of them, right? And if you're at home, if you're ThriveWell, Jose will put this out. We'll put the recipe out on the e-blast, but you've got that in front of you. So I needed to make sure that it was just the right temperature, just the right time. And then I was like, ooh, some people have air fryers. That keeps it juicier. I did one in the oven too, but the oven, at least the oven with chicken breast, even though it was marinated and all that stuff, it just dries it out a little bit too much. And some people are okay with that. My mom makes it that way and she likes it. But we had a pan and we had an air fryer. And I'm like, ooh, I'm going to try the air fryer. So here I am with, I've got my air fryer over here. I've got my pan over here. We've got the oven over here. And I've got timers. And I'm like, Alexa, set a timer for 3 minutes for the pan chicken. And set a timer for 10 minutes for the air fryer. And this. And my house is like, the kitchen is, why did I bring this up? Oh, the reason I brought this up is because I've got this container with raw chicken that's marinated in it. And I've got my tongs, right? So I've got my tongs that have touched the raw chicken. Now I have to get my chicken out of the air fryer or out of the pan. I need to get another set of tongs, right? And, when people are doing it at home, they're kind of like, it's okay. It's like, just for the sake of food safety, get another pair of tongs, or if you want to, wash those tongs off before you touch the cooked, but then you're going to go back to the cold. If you're going back to the cold, if you're not doing it all in one session, right? But don't use that same plate or container or whatever, because you're like, oh, well, this has a lot of marinade in it. Maybe I can pour it. Don't. Just throw out the marinade. It is full of poultry bacteria and juices. You don't want to do that. That's the reason I told you that whole story, is to tell you that even I was like, had to like think, okay, which tongs are for the raw and which are for the cooked. But that's only because I was all over the place. If you're just putting it out, then you could wash it in between. But again, too, I need to wash my hands. And then making sure that on your cutting board, that if you have cut some chicken, especially raw, that you maybe get another cutting board for your raw fruits and vegetables. You don't want to contaminate that with the poultry or the meat. And again, I put this purposely on here multiple times. Don't leave hot or cold food out for more than 2 hours. Here are your internal cooking temperatures. If you care to use your meat thermometer that you have or are going to buy, your internal temperatures for seafood, pork, and beef steaks. Now this is specific because once you get into ground meats, you're going to need to heat them up a little bit more to 160. But for seafood, and if you're doing a beef steak or a pork steak, that is 145 Fahrenheit, 160 for ground meats, wild game, and eggs. And then leftovers. This is important. When you start getting those leftovers out of the refrigerator, 165. You want to heat it to 165. Casseroles and poultry need to be heated to 165. All right. And also using airtight containers. Glass, preferably. If what you have is plastic, that's okay too. But using these snap-on lids, it really makes a difference to be able to like snap on the lid. 3 to 4 days in the refrigerator. Put it in the freezer if you think you're not going to get to it in 3 to 4 days. Even if it's meal prep, right? Because sometimes we buy frozen meals. So you could meal prep and then just leave out your 3 to 4 days, and then your days 5, 6, 7, maybe you freeze it and then thaw it in the refrigerator or microwave it, however you're going to do that. And then reheat to 165. All right, here we go. Our marinated chicken breast, we're going to get to that right now. We're going to go on a little chicken breast journey. So we're going to go to the store. So let's go to the store. We're going to get our chicken. Here's a tip. Getting your cold stuff last. So get all your non-perishable things in the grocery store first. Then you can get your cold stuff and then get your frozen stuff and then get home, right? So this looks like a good chicken. I'm going to take this chicken. So we're going to get home from the store. We're going to get our cooler bag. I've been so excited about this for a week. I love this chicken. It cracks me up. I don't know if they can see the chicken at home. There's a chicken in here. I'm so excited. I was all over my house. I love this chicken. I've had this chicken for more than 20 years. Before I was married, I had this chicken. We got it at Six Flags. And it just makes me laugh. It's hilarious. We can never give that away. And the children can't have it. That's my chicken. Okay, so we're going to get home. And then as soon as you get home, you're going to get the meats in the refrigerator, freezer as fast as you possibly can. How long can they stay in the refrigerator? If it's raw, how long can that raw meat stay in the refrigerator? 3 to 4 days? Less, probably 3 to 4 days. If you know you're not going to use it in 3 days, just put it in the freezer, right?
You can't refreeze. You can't, like, if it's been in there for, like, say 3 days, and you say, you know what, I might freeze it. You can't freeze it.
I mean, what happens, she's asking if it's been in the refrigerator for 3 days and then can you freeze it? if you got it fresh from the grocery store and you had it in the refrigerator, then you could freeze it. If you freeze it, defrost it, and then refreeze it, I don't think it's as much of a safety issue as it is a texture issue. You're going to get it's going to change the ice crystals are going to make your chicken a little bit tougher and some of your other things. So, I mean, technically, I guess you could, but then if you do that, you just have to make sure that once you've defrosted it, that it's not starting to grow bacteria, and then you go back and you freeze it. Does that make sense? So if you're going for more than 3 or 4 days in the refrigerator, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to put it back in the freezer, you might want to check it and just make sure it's still okay, right? So it's more about the quality of the chicken at that point than the safety of the chicken. If you do that freeze, refreeze thing, it's going to change the structure of the cells. That's a very good question. So handling. Before we're gonna cook it, I'm gonna take my chicken out of the container, and I'm gonna have my cutting board. This is gonna be my chicken cutting board. So that means that I'm gonna put my vegetables on another cutting board, and then I'm gonna put my chicken. You're gonna see why I love this chicken. It's so funny. This is so funny.
Fuzzy chicken.
He's fuzzy. And his legs dangle, and look at the tail. Look at that's hilarious.
Auntie called him a stuffed chicken.
A stuffed chicken?
Yeah. In the box.
A chicken in the box. Yes, stuffed. Oh, he was stuffed in a box. Oh, yes, it's a chicken in a box. Yes. So you have your chicken. My hands have already been washed, right? So I'm going to take my chicken, and then I'm going to have my container. So for this recipe that we're doing today, I did not want to bring raw chicken in here. I don't have anywhere to wash my hands and show you. So that's why we have this hilarity going on. So I'm just going to kind of demonstrate pretending. For this recipe that we're doing, honestly, you could do the easiest thing, and I actually put this on the recipe for you, this Bragg vinaigrette. You could use any vinaigrette. I just really like this one because it is made with extra virgin olive oil. It's not made with canola oil or other seed oils. I mean, you can have those things. It's okay. I just like that extra virgin olive oil. I feel like it is better for you. And if you look, there's not a lot of fillers and dyes and other things. I really like this brand. So you could just take your chicken breast. So I'm going to pretend, because I didn't want to bring in the raw chicken, I'm going to pretend like these little packets are the chicken breast, right? So I'm going to put a little bit of the dressing on, and then I'm going to put a chicken breast in. And then, so this is my chicken hand. This is now, if you want to add a little bit more, my husband likes a little bit more salt, and I like a lot of pepper. So you could just make this whole recipe just with the dressing, because this has enough spices and salt and pepper in it you need. But if you want to layer a little bit more, then I would do a little bit of dressing, then put the chicken in, and then do a little bit more dressing. And then I'll do some salt, and then a lot of pepper. I like pepper. And then I like garlic too. So I'll do a little bit of garlic powder. What I'm saying is you can make this the way you want. Like if you like rosemary chicken, or if you like tarragon chicken or something like that, you can add a little bit of spice to it. But it's so simple that you could just use this. So just layering it and having your different hands for different things. So does anyone remember what the internal temperature was for chicken? 165 for chicken. Yeah. I've given you, on this recipe, I've given you 3 different ways to do it. So I gave you the pan procedure, I gave you the air fryer, I gave you the grill. I just didn't even give you the baked procedure because I didn't like it. And I only want to bring you the best. But you can go online and find an oven procedure if you want to. One thing I would say on the pan procedure is that there's 2 things that you could do, because you're going to get varying thicknesses of chicken, right? like even in the ones that in the packages that I bought, I had like some chicken breasts that were like, I weighed them because I was just trying to more details. I had one that was like more than half of a pound. It was very large. And then I had like just some regular size, some that were much smaller than that. So one of the ways to help with the consistency of cooking it is you can either pound them out so you can get them all like the same thickness before you marinate them. Or what I did is if you have one of those presses, do you have like a heavy grill press? You could use one of those, or you can get like a pan and put a can. Like if you have a metal pan, you could put like a heavy can in it, a can of beans or something, and then use that as a press. That helps to cook it a little bit more evenly. All right, a little quiz. How long can your food stay in the danger zone?
Up to 2 hours.
Yeah, up to 2 hours. Less is always better, right? And that danger zone was between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So the easiest way to figure that out is just keep your cold stuff cold and your hot stuff hot for as long as you possibly can. And then we're going to store it in an airtight container when we're done with it. And then when we reheat it, we're going to reheat it to what temperature? 165 again. Yes. So I have some chicken here for you to share. It's cold, but this is really, really good meal prep too. I mean, all of us in our family, we just eat it out of the refrigerator, right? Afterwards. I mean, we have a nice meal with it, but then we slice it up and then we have it on our salads all the time. So I have some to share with you. Oh, I got all excited with all my stories. I didn't ask if anybody had questions. Does anyone have questions? Ask me questions while I serve you some chicken. Does everybody want some, or anyone a no on the chicken? Okay.
The answer, it was very thorough, because I did have the question about like if you were to like in the fridge before you, if it was like that third day, could you refreeze it? So you answered that question, because I was kind of wondering about that. Because sometimes it's like you take something out and then it's like, you know what, I don't want that now.
Right. Yeah, sometimes you take something out to defrost it and then you're like, oh, I'm not, or, everybody's, this happens in my house, they're like, we want to go out. And I'm like, but I was going to cook okay. Yeah.
Well, I make chicken for shredded chicken tacos.
You make chicken for shredded chicken tacos. This is great. Yeah.
It was so delicious, and I was so happy. And I said, tomorrow I'm going to make this into a tortilla soup with the leftovers. And I went to sleep. And I left it out in the pan covered. And so I panicked in the morning. I was like, no, the chicken, you were out all night. So I called my sisters. One said, don't eat it. The other one said, well, it's cold in your house and it's covered. Just go ahead. You'll be safe. But I ended up just tossing it. Yeah. I was scared. I was really scared. I looked at it. I smelled it. And I was like, you don't smell bad. But I don't trust you.
Right. Yeah. So you're telling a story about how you had this chicken and you were shredding it and you were going to make a tortilla soup with it the next day. And then you fell asleep and you left it out overnight and you're like, oh, it should be okay. And your sister said, oh, well, it was cold. Actually, that's part of the story too that I didn't, because the story was kind of long, that I didn't put in is when we were like, what? She goes, because it's December. It's so cold outside. It's probably fine. but you didn't trust it. And you were like, you know what? I'm not going to take that chance. If in doubt, throw it out. Yeah. Here, I'm gonna ask someone to come up and normally Jose or somebody's here to hand them out. So I'm gonna ask someone to come up and hand out if you want. I'm putting a little bit more on some than others. I actually brought way too much chicken, so you can come and get seconds if you want. Actually, I don't have the containers. I could, if I had the containers, I could like send you home with lunch or something. You could put it on a salad or a sandwich when you get home. So do you guys think that this was actually, here's my question. Has anyone ever had food poisoning or a foodborne illness before?
Oh, way too many times.
Way too many times. Yeah. And yeah, you have. Does that change your behavior?
I mean, the time that I've had it, I haven't cooked it myself.
The times that you've had it, it wasn't because you cooked it. Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, there's one thing that I didn't mention is we have so many regulations in the United States. We're very lucky like that. But I mean, if we're having like 48, what was the stat on that? Hold on, let me go back to one of my slides. Because it was like 48 million people per year are getting some foodborne illness. I think 48 million are getting sick from foodborne illnesses every year. That's 1 in 6. Is there more? Sorry. That is like 1 in 6 Americans per year are getting sick. And then 128,000 are being hospitalized due to foodborne illnesses. That's every year. And that's in the United States. So imagine going to some of these other countries that don't have all these regulations that we have.
So I have a question. I went out to eat one day and not even 30 minutes, probably about 15 minutes after I ate, I'm driving home, my stomach bloated, I got cramps, I felt...
In 30 minutes?
I was severely sick.
Uh-huh.
It was bad.
Uh-huh.
And my question is, are we supposed to report that?
That is a fantastic question. So she said that she went out to eat, and within 30 minutes, she was feeling bloated and she got really, really sick. And her question is, am I supposed to report that? Yes. Call the CDC and let them know. I should have put that in there because I don't really actually even think of it so much. But there was an incident once where at my daughter's school, when I think she was in middle school or high school, there were multiple people getting sick around the same time. Now, it was flu season, right? But there were too many absences. And so the CDC actually called us that week or a week later, like within a few days, they called us and they wanted to talk to me as her mom, but then also her, to ask her a bunch of questions about where she was, what she ate, and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, that's really, really good information because it's not, you're protecting other people, right? And it just takes a couple of people getting very, very sick to mess up the Center for Disease Controls. The Center for, it's called the CDC, the Center.
How do you know the number?
I think if you just look it up online is probably the best way. I actually, now that you said that, I'm going to add that into this presentation because I never even thought of that. But yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I have a question. You know how like the grocery store, they might put like some food on sale because I guess it's about to expire.
Uh-huh.
How safe is that if you buy it and freeze it right away? Is that safe? Because sometimes the color looks different, like, especially like on beef and
Like
steaks.
Saturday and Sunday morning, Walmart, my neighborhood Walmart will have a package with the yellow stickers, but the expiration date or best buy date
Mhm.
is that day.
That day.
So like how much longer can I keep it?
Yeah. I will say that a lot of times the best buy day is not actually an expiration date. That the best buy day is what the manufacturer is saying. I want you to get the best quality product, so I prefer that you eat it at this time. We're talking about meat, but I mean, like say like a cereal, right? I want you, when you eat this, I want this to be the best quality so you have a good impression of me and you are enjoying your experience. But like if anyone who's ever gone to the food bank to volunteer at the food bank, when we're separating out cereals and stuff like that, when you donate things to the food bank, it might be past the best buy, but it's not bad per se. Now, when you're talking about meat and you see a change in color, then yeah, it might not be quite the quality anymore, but maybe you freeze it that day or use it that day. So I think if your expiration date was today and you found that today, or the best by date, yeah, I mean, if it starts to change color, then I would hesitate. Then you have to go, is it worth it for me to take this risk? Or should I just pay another $1 and get the fresh one? So, I mean, if you know you're going to use it that day and you're okay with it, then I would use it that day. Or maybe you freeze it that day.